Alright, so I am out here at Dunham Reservoir. It's 7 a.m. and I'm waiting for the sun to come up. Sitting on the edge of the lake. I took a couple pano shots just to get the full scene. Gonna have some cattails in the foreground, so that's gonna be nice. But I'm also out here with my new 100 to 400 GM, and my focus today is to get some isolation shots, really punch in, get some detail instead of the wide space that's here right now. What I've got is a nice layering of pines and then frozen trees above it. It gives a very stark contrast. And then I've got the sun, so then the sky. So I'm waiting for the sun to come up over that. Right now I've got a good glow going on, and I can show you that. Right over there, and I don't know if you can see it, but there's layers. I'll show you in the photos once I get those back and processed. But my focus the beginning of this year is going to be on some more minimalistic shots. So really isolation, remove distractions, focus on 1-2 elements at a time, and then we're gonna try that and go for some new stuff. So I'm really excited to use this lens. It's really helping me focus on particular items. So let's see where this goes. Looks like the sun's coming up. Alright, here comes the sun. I've switched to my 16 to 35 Sony, and I'm getting a nice star, sun star coming up. There's a sunrise. Alright, now it's a little too intense for a good star, so I'm going to look for some shadows in these cattails here. Alright, so I got my shots. Some good, some bad. So we'll see when we get back to the office what I got. Not as much abstract stuff yet as I thought. I'm actually going to take a hike around to the other side of the lake over there. Walk amongst the trees and see what else I can find before heading out. So I'll take you along on that. So I'm back home at my desk, and I'm editing photos from this morning. As I expected, I'm leaning more towards the shots that I took with the zoom lens when I went out this morning. It's a different perspective that I'm used to shooting, so I'm excited about seeing them. I'll take you through some of the ones that I've been working on and editing. There was also, on my way back to the truck, a deviation I took to go through the woods that yielded some really cool photos. So I'm going to walk you through some of those, show you how I'm editing them, and show you the results of what came out this morning. So I've got Lightroom open and I've imported my images. I've been playing around. I've done some editing and curated some of the images already. But as I go through, I can show you, it's kind of the progression of the morning here. I was out getting ready, scouting out the location. The little hole amongst these cattails here, and was getting up and setting up because I knew the sun was going to rise over the mountain across the lake. So just taking some snapshots, getting panorama, scoping, put together, and just seeing what I could do with playing with these cattails with the distance. So I started off with the Tamron. All of these test shots are with that. The 2.8 gave me a really nice shallow depth of field, so I was able to play and get some interesting shots of the cattails as the sun was rising, and I was waiting for that. Some of these I pulled out and put an edit to them. I tend to underexpose when I'm out in the field because the dynamic range on Sony's is incredible. So I'm able to pull all that back. Make sure you don't want to clip the highlights. So I make sure that the sky and everything like that is coming through fine. Because if you clip the highlights, you're going to end up with a white blob here, and it just looks terrible. So I tend to underexpose for that. A couple of these, I like how they came out. Super shallow depth of field with the 2.8. I get a couple of these in focus, and then a very smooth, cloudy background. As I went through the morning, testing out the long range of that Tamron lens, I'm able to get out to, this is across the lake. This is at 123 millimeters. So I absolutely love the layers in the hill across the lake for me. So these deep dark pines, and then this row of other trees that were just covered in the snow from the day before, and then the sky, which is the sun is rising up. So it's super bright, but I just love this layer. So I took some test shots with Tamron. I knew I was going to take out the 100 to 400 and take some more shots of these. So these were just to scope that out as I was waiting. This was a particular patch that I really liked. The others were a good definitive layer, but this has some meandering groupings of pines here, which I really kept drawing my eye. So I'll show you that later, how I took that with the 100 to 400 and edited that. Coming down here, some other examples of just those shots with the layers at different exposures. I actually took a 3-shot. I took 3 shots and stitched them together for a wide pano of this. This is the pano after stitching them together, and I put some edits on this. So the sun was rising over here off the image. So it's super bright on this side, and you can see along the tree line here that glow, and less over here. And then we've got these stark layering. It was just awesome. So I put some colors, some blues into the foreground to emphasize the cold, and some warm tones into the sky, and the light is coming in from this direction. Now I did play around, and I brought it over into Photoshop and did a sky replacement in it just to see how it would come out. I just put a few clouds into there, a little bit of blue sky. I like it. I'm not sure I'm crazy about it. To replace the sky, there's really got to be something missing from the image, and I think that this one does fine on its own. But I'm not sure. So go ahead, leave me some comments below. Let me know which one of these you like the best. And yeah, just leave some notes in the comments. Now, getting back to one of the other images that I had mentioned before, this kind of meandering grouping of pines. At this stage, I had taken out the 100 to 400. Because you can see up here, I'm at 203 millimeters. I was just cropped in here tight, getting the detail in this, and then again keeping this in here. I was trying to exclude the sky in some of these, and then I did another shot of that area with the sky. Just not sure how it was going to play out due to the brightness and the lack of clouds. This one I've edited. I've cropped it down. The original image was a wider one with a little bit of sky up here, but I've cropped it down because I like the composition coming through here. I've done some edits on here too. I brightened up this section of trees, did some detailing within here, And you just kind of get this sense of this snaking through the image. And again, the contrast of these different types of trees and the groupings just really came out to me. So I put a square crop on this one. I really liked how this one came out. This might be one of my favorites of the day. But again, this was being done before the sun had peeked over the mountain in the back. Now, as the sun came up, I switched over to my 16 to 35 Sony wide angle. This is kind of the staple lens that I use for all of my landscape shots for the most part. So I knew I wanted to get that nice sunburst coming up over the hill. And you can kind of see the progression of I got set up. This is actually really quick, so I had just slapped the lens on just as this is peeking up over the sky here. And you can see kind of the progression of that sun coming through. Now I've thrown some edits on here to bring up the shadows and bring down the highlights. I went through and I wanted to get the one that I had my favorite, the best star in my opinion. So to shoot a sun star, you want to throw your f-stop as high as you possibly can, pretty much. I shot all of these at f/22. That's as high as the Sony lens goes. But you can get a sun star depending on the strength of the sun down to things like f/16 or lower if you want to go with that. But the higher you go, the more diffraction you're going to get in your lens, and the more apparent that sun star is going to be. So you can see it come through. I like this one, and then I also like this one, and I've thrown some edits on this one as well now. This is your typical landscape image coming off of the morning. So I've thrown a brightening spot over here just to give it that extra little halo of a glow. I did that with the radial filter tool. You can see that over here. I've also put a radial filter tool down in this section. So if I turn these off, you can see what the images looked like prior to these filters coming on. Still good, but I wanted to emphasize this a little bit more, as well as this bringing down the highlights to the amount that I did just makes this sun seem unnatural. So I wanted to add a little bit more glow back into that, with also keeping the sky in a kind of a darker, non-washed out tone. So putting that halo in, I'm still not sure if I'm going to keep it at that strength, but doing that and then bringing that radial filter in here kind of brings a little bit more life into these reeds here. Added some contrast to the image overall. You can see through here across the lake, the frozen lake, these snow ripples kind of lead your eye through this image. And then this is the part that I just loved about this location, and this is what I was shooting with the longer lens. You see these layers of these different trees here, and then this is the section that I really zoomed in with the long lens to get some intimate shots with. So this is probably my best one of the wide angle shots of the morning. The sun kept coming up and increasing. These, I started to get too much diffraction in the sun star, so I wasn't a fan of once the sun came all the way out. But I am looking at this, and I do love the separation of the light and the intenseness on the snow here. So I may do some more tweaking on some of these images with the sun a little bit higher, just because that sun on the snow I think is really a great part of the image. I may actually do some blending as well with some of the previous images. At this point, I thought the sun had gone too high, and I was just kind of playing around getting some more shadow. I dropped my exposure down, trying to get low, handheld, trying to get some unique shots to the reeds. I didn't love how a lot of these turned out. This one's all right. But that was pretty much it. I was getting cold at this point, so I wanted to pack it in for this location, and I wanted to head out to the other side of the lake here and see what I could get through the trees with the sun coming up. So I had gotten to a location on the far side, and then this was just shooting back kind of in the direction I was sitting over here. There's a trail coming off this way, and I was sitting there shooting in this direction off to the right.
and the sun has risen over here. Now this is looking back in that direction, and again I pulled out the long lens. So this is on the way back from that dock area. Very tall trees here, and the light was coming in through the top with a lot of snow and these pines. After this had caught my eye, I actually went back to the lake again and started shooting because the sun had come up a little bit higher back towards those pines off below the sun. So these were starting to catch the light, and it was just skimming off of the top, and I really liked how these were starting to come through. Again, this is taken with the long telephoto lens. You can see a theme here. I'm really drilling in with that 100 to 400 and getting some of these unique shots of the trees that I wouldn't have otherwise been able to capture with a wide angle unless I was standing much, much closer. At this point I decided to pack it in, but again, another piece of the woods had caught my eye, and I started meandering off the path to go and catch the sun through the trees. So I had followed a set of animal tracks off the path. They kind of wound through the trees here, and I used that as a leading line and framed it with some of the trees on the side. And then I focused on getting that sun star into the trees to complete that image. You can see, this is typical how I underexpose here and I'm just moving the camera around handheld and trying to get the right amount of sun through that in order to get that sun burst through here. So I'm walking around trying to look for a few different other compositions, and then I come up across this pine tree with some snow on it, and I wanted to use that for a foreground object and kind of give some framing to it. So played around with some shots here. Some of these are out of focus. It was difficult to get handheld with the tree and the sun star in the right spot as the sun's moving through here in a very, very small spot here. So a number of different attempts. I've switched, at one point I switch around, so I switch to the other side of the tree, and as I go through here, again, this animal path kind of winds through here. So these I got the sun star right on the top of the snow on this branch, giving it a nice little glow. You see kind of that path going through and some of the light coming down here. So I haven't put an edit on these yet. If I brighten this up, you'll start to see that come through. So I'll probably come back to this one, and I've already starred these two images because I'm going to play around with those a little bit. And this one's a little bit of a separation. You pull this one off to the side, give it more of a framing and not that central subject, keeping that path winding through here. And then again, that sun star coming through. So that was another reason I started that one. Then I swapped over to this side of the path because this is streaks of light coming through here are what caught my eye next. And looking over to the right, I found this stump as I was getting in position to try to capture some of this light. So I decided the wider angle was a better view of this to give this some curving perspective leading in, and then the light leading up to the sun star. And then chasing this light some more, I walked forward, and there's another section of light up here with a small pine tree. So this little guy caught my eye sitting right in a sunbeam. This one's obviously out of focus, but this one's not. I'm sorry, this one is in focus. So again, I haven't done much editing on this one, but I like this one with the detail and the sun coming right through that over top of this.
All right, thanks for hanging out with me today. On my trip to the reservoir and through the editing of some of the photos. Let me know in the comments below, again, on what you liked about the panorama, that whether the sky replacement was good or not. And let me know what your favorite image of the day was. If you liked the video and you want to see more, make sure you hit the subscribe button below, hit the like button. It really helps me get this going. My videos are few and far between right now, but I'm starting to ramp up and you should see more of these coming out soon. Thanks for watching. See you next time.